Morning, everyone. Hello, hello. Hope you're all well. Sunday the 5th of September here. Let me know if you can hear and see me properly. As always, chatting about the last video or two that I've put up. It's fresh in my head and hopefully yours. Feel free to chat amongst yourself in the stream chat. But if you want to ask me a question specifically, make sure you put in a whole bunch of emojis next to your questions so I can see them in the stream. Don't want to have my microphone too close. Okay. I've got to work out how to how to get people to get guests call in on this thing. I've had a friend tell me that I should do it, and I just haven't gotten around to researching it so I can work well on this sort of setup, because I want the look to stay the same. So I've got to figure out how to do that, and then if it's worthwhile. Hey Kate Smith, thank you very much for the super chat. He says that high value man equals useful to women's agenda and needs. Yeah, I've got a comment today that I'll put on screen that's similar to that. A few guys kind of mention that. I just want to make guys think about when you're led by something. It's kind of like marketing or advertising on TV. They say stuff that sort of that mesmerizes you. It sounds really good, or it sounds attractive or intellectual or right, and all you go by is the feeling, not really what it is. So all I ever want to do is kind of get guys to think about things for themselves, because that's really, when you're in the moment, when you're on a date, when you're in front of a boss who's pressuring you to sort of put in 150%, and you're just kind of motivated by fear or an anxiety, you don't know why, but you do it anyway. They're the kind of moments, I think, that the more that you think this way, philosophically speaking, I think that's the thing that can help you. Got a couple of regulars. All right, I'll start reading out a couple of notable comments from the last couple of videos relating to the whole PUA, sleeping around, especially peacocking for women. Hey K Smith, thanks a lot for the super chat again. He says a good thing. He says, I'd rather have high values than be high value male. Well, that's actually probably a good point that Kay makes. Have high values, which is probably where it's derived from. The saying sort of derived from that same place. Have high self-respecting values, and then you're valued highly for by yourself. You can actually tell guys really respect guys with a good self-esteem. There's something about them. They're confident, they're friendly, they're open, they're not pushed around. They speak their mind. Have you noticed when you're in high school growing up, the guys that other guys were around was the guy that wasn't afraid to say whatever he wanted, especially to the girls. Like, he had zero fear amongst the girls, and it doesn't mean that he was super good looking or anything. He just wasn't afraid. That lack of fear. When you have that kind of self-esteem and high values, and I know a lot of guys say easy for you, like it wasn't. I was always an introvert. I had to learn how to stand up for myself. You get tired of being quiet. You get tired of going along with being the nice person, and that is good to be, but there are points where you need to stand up for yourself. And I think a lot of guys think that anything but compliance is not being nice. And it's not true, because you see a lot of people, especially most women out there, they're not afraid to stand up for what they want and tell you no. Quite quickly too. No, make it yourself. No, do it yourself. No, I'm not your mother. And we kind of like, oh, okay, mummy. So yeah, it's overcoming that fear. And it's not even to do anything dangerous. I think that's what frustrates guys the most. They look at it, and when they're on their own later, they just kick themselves, because they go, why didn't I say something? Why am I just simply afraid to speak? That is the thing to overcome. Yemwe Mada says, Human, what are your thoughts on Fresh and Fit approach? I remember when I first started seeing their feeds, it's kind of, what they do is like it's like a pickup, especially for younger guys. It's entertaining. It's not my thing. I watched it for 10, 15 minutes, and then I watched another one, and it's all the same kind of thing. It's just guys discussing pickup, but trying to refine pickup predominantly through intellectual discussion, through a lot of points that many people in our circles have discussed on their videos. But it's not really my cup of tea. And the thing is, they always get bimbos on. Not always, like sometimes, once or twice they've gotten a woman with a decent head on their shoulders, but they don't really get them on that often. It's not very clickable, those kind of videos. And so you can tell, like, YouTube in the audience don't want intelligent discussion. They want oh my god moments. They want reality TV. And so they get a whole bunch of bimbo eye candy. Not my eye candy. Frankly, most of them look like streetwalkers or young streetwalkers in the making. But they're not, or maybe that's just the way chicks look today. And yeah, they're not, I don't know. It feels like, for my taste, for what I like, again, I'm being subjective, I'm not into it. It's like, it's entertaining because the guys look so much smarter than the girls. And when you listen to the girls, it's not hard. But it'd be nice if they got, and they have once or twice gotten a woman on there who can sort of, who's got a few brain cells. It doesn't happen that often, but it's a pickup show. It's more entertainment than educational. That's the difference. So if I'd sum it up, I like entertainment, because I try to entertain on my videos now as well, making them interesting. So you can see I've moved from quite dry information, and I've kind of tried to make my videos interesting and short enough that you get the point I'm trying to talk about. But if it's a serious topic, I don't want to make fun of it. I don't want to cross-dress a serious topic. DataWiz72, thanks very much, man, for the super chat. He says, I appreciate your work, Human. Thank you for helping men through these dark times. Just paying my tuition. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the donations, guys. Sorry, I've got I had a bite of a muesli bar before I started. Basically, I wake up and I give myself half an hour to start. I prepped the night before, so I've got everything ready. I've got the camera set up and everything, but just I need to wake up. Had an ingrown hair that I had to get rid of. Anyway. Silver Bullet says, have you written any books, Human? On my YouTube stuff that I do, that kind of angle, no. Sam Saylor says, thick with bimbos. That podcast is good for about 2 looks. I think, look, there's some titillating aspect, guys, especially the ones that are really into dating. It's one of their primary drives, like it was for me and many other guys, or almost all guys, especially when they're younger. Women occupy your first place, your second place, your third place. All your most passionate hobbies and people that you supposedly care about, they kind of all come before women. And sometimes it's not even a woman that that you've even met. You notice a lot of guys, I remember this was like even just the potential of going out to meet women, to go to the club. You could have a family member or someone really kind of have something important and you want to get out of it to go out with the boys, to go to a club to potentially score the gold mine. Kay Smith says in his super chat, high character men is greater than high value, lots of money men. Well, this is the thing. You can have a lot of stuff that women want, which is what I've been discussing in my last video especially. It's like, if you're a guy who's self-aware and you think, you can know, yeah, I know she's with me for my money. But the longer you spend with her, what if you really like her? You can't keep her. Not in a self-respecting way, because you know that you can't slow down. You're more than a workhorse. You're a racehorse that has to run and keep running. And if you stop, if it goes, if you don't have all the shiny things that princess wants, you're a sugar daddy pretending that it's a relationship. And I've read many cases where a lot of sugar daddies, they start to fall for the girl they're paying for. And again, I'm not saying not to do it, guys. Do what you want, but have your eyes open. Who am I to tell you what to do? I want as many guys to have their own moral philosophy and be as responsible, self-responsible as they can. And they become their own teacher, their own mentor, because they've sat seriously enough with this stuff that when they go out into the world and they confront a situation, they don't have to go to a video. They don't have to, before we didn't have videos and podcasts and, okay, we had books. But you'd have to be a very certain person to go to the book and be able to process it to make sense of it and help your life. But now everyone just kind of plugs in. Think about, not everyone needs to even know the meaning of words. It's like, what does this mean? Google it. What does this mean? Google it. So we let the machine think for us. So in real time, when you're on a date, you can't kind of be like, how are you? So do you come here? Like, you can't do that. And even if you memorize lines like PUA tells you to, and from the beginning of time, guys have always like shared opening lines and pick-up lines with other guys. But you want to know this. You want it to come out of you in a fluid way, in the way you speak, like this. You want to be able to just be able to draw that out, and the only way to do it is to practice, and not practice repeating lines. This is the thing. People think that it's like pick-up, where you repeat so many lines that then you can recall them as though you're in a movie and they're going action, and then you just kind of like, you've memorized your lines so much, like you've done an acceptance speech and you spent the last couple of months like getting it down pat. It's just so you can speak like this and recall everything you believe without fear and trust yourself. Yeah, Vero says, I'd rather be authentic than being peacocking my way into a relationship. Yeah. Then you got to keep it up. And then you go, why don't I like the relationship? Why do I feel empty? Why does this feel worse and worse? You're waiting for the director to go, cut. And it never happens. Something, or you or her or something has to say cut eventually, because you're acting. Black Mirror, thank you for the super chat. He says, notice how the high value men and entitled women are on the same spectrum. Both seek validation of the ego with her looks or with his status. Yeah. K. Smith says, women want a turnkey husband. Yeah, and I've mentioned a lot of game and the alpha sort of dating coach advice is similar to women. They're reflecting women in a like women are acting in a cartoonish brat way. Like you look at old fairy tales, you look at Cinderella or Snow White, women are acting like the ugly stepsisters. They're acting like the worst women, and the guys are acting like the worst kind of guys. So in old fairy tales, men and women aren't acting like the nicest people, and then they're wondering, wow, it's all the other person's fault. It's like, no, you're both adopting the worst kind of exploitive roles. You'll get what you want, maybe. You'll stress yourself out, you have to act, and it will not be long term. The villain can never control their own impulses. They always do the wrong thing. They shoot themselves in the foot. I'll probably get that word flagged just now anyway, because I said, you know, SHOOT. Anyway, guys, I'll read out a few of the more notable comments in the last few videos. I'd Borden on the video, do you care too much about being a high-value male? He says, nope, these days those days are over. At 53, I look back and realize my days of trying to be something special just made me like all the rest. That's something to think about. We're all trying to be the same kind of special. You see many girls today, they all have the Kim Kardashian look because they were all trying to be special. Now you're all trying to be wanted and loved, and you're just looking for the easiest thing to do it. If you actually looked in the mirror, if you actually self-reflected, you just find out who you are and what you want to do. And even if you're not sure, you kind of start to trust your intuition. It's kind of like tasting food. This tastes good. I like this. I don't like this. And you're on your own, like deciding it. You're not. It's not the peer group pressure of smoking. Miles says, hey human, do you have a geographical representation of where your viewers and subscribers are from? I see a lot of good evening, but it's still morning. Yeah, most of my subscribers are from the US, and then a remaining portion from Europe, and the rest smattered all over the world, including Australia. So yeah, Australia and New Zealand's ahead of us. I think New Zealand, it's early afternoon, morning in Australia, and then it differs from around the world. So yeah, most people are saying good evening because it's, I think, Saturday night in the US for most people. Remember, if you want to ask a question, guys, in the chat stream on your right, make sure you put a whole bunch of emojis before your question. Lance, for the video I did called Do You Care Too Much About Being a High-Value Male? He says, I'm a high-value, self-respecting person, and yet women only look for flaws in me, so I stop wasting my time. Yeah, this happens quite a bit. But if you're a high-value, if you're self-respecting, the good thing is as soon as you feel and see that happen, you respect yourself too much to not say anything or not walk away. Whereas if you're not self-respecting, if you don't have high self-respect for yourself, you don't. And this is the thing with like the fresh and fit guys and all those guys that are into kind of pickup. It's for those Kim Kardashian stripper looking chicks. If you're so high value, why are you going for them? Or at least if they look like that, when they open their mouth, why don't they sound something like you? Why do they sound like a 5-year-old? Doesn't seem very high value to me. If your woman sounded as intelligent or even half as intelligent as you, maybe. Metapus Rex and be aware, guys, like some of your comments were really great, but I had to slightly edit some of the words because I didn't want the word police catching the word and then not showing it or throttling the video. He said, we'd probably have more consistency in how men define their purpose in life if we did one simple thing: bring back more male teachers in schools, as boys and teachers need intelligent, strong, well-rounded men in our formative years. And there's barely a teacher in sight in public schools these days. There's barely a male teacher in sight in public school these days. Thanks for the super chat, Sam. I'll get to it in a sec, your comment. We're bashed over the head constantly with how bad men are, yet we're generations raised by women. So if we're the problem, whose fault is it really? Yeah, single mums, school teachers, media where it's women's talk shows in the morning, women news presenters. When they go to the news, they cross to an expert. The representative is a woman. There's female faces everywhere. Male faces are very, very seldom, and if they are, they're very meek, and they toe the line, and they make sure they say the right thing, so they keep their job, whether their job is an actual job or their job is a husband and a father. So, yeah, whose fault is it? I've got to remember which. Denver Y. On the same video, do you care too much about being a high-value male? He says, I tried so hard to become the man that mothers want for their daughters, only to achieve my goal and then find out their daughters aren't even worth wanting. Yep. Jacob L with a dash through it. On the same video, he says, being a high-value male equals too many situations to being handy and useful. Yep. But also, guys enjoy being useful, helpful. But the thing is, are you being respected? Is there reciprocity? So not like for like, but I don't know. You drive her everywhere. She makes you food or she makes you dinner. Basically, quite happily, you do things for each other that the other person appreciates, enjoys, things like that. But it's too one-sided these days. Odin's dog says, how do you overcome being alone and not having anyone to share highs and lows? It's all well and good running as a single man, but does this concern others? It's something to think about, guys. Because at the very least, when you start thinking this way and you're very definite about your standards, you at least know that if it happens, it's got a better chance of working out or being with the right person or being a good experience, even if it doesn't last. Most guys just pick visually what excites them and they just try and force it to work, and it doesn't, because they're not themselves. They peacock to each other. They're using the script. So it's not. Yeah, if there's one thing in my videos I keep trying to push is to think about these things, not only intellectually but philosophically. Develop your own moral philosophy, especially in terms of women, if you're still open to dating them, and especially if you want to have kids and get married. I mean, those kind of very serious things, and even just being with a woman. It baffles me, these guys that think that hookup is safer. Really? Sleeping with someone you don't know on the first night. You're just going through potential psycho after potential psycho that you haven't had a chance to know. You both act. You're essentially holding your breath with your personality until after the sack. And then you're hoping that, well, that's all right, we've moved on. Can you trust anything a complete stranger said? Or can you be a little bit more sure if you've known someone for a while and there's more chance that you've seen their personality, rather than all of us have been on best behavior on first dates before. And some of us are very good. There's some people are very good at not being themselves at all. They know how to put on a completely different act consciously and act like a different person. They love acting. So I think that the probability of risk increases exponentially in the hookup game. You don't know what psychos you're going out with, and the environment creates psychos. It creates neurotic people that don't even know who they are after years and years of doing this, because this is the only mode they know. You exercise one kind of muscle, gentlemen, that's the only muscle that's being exercised, and that's who you are. You create your persona. It's a similar reason why a lot of guys who say they lose themselves in a relationship, they act again for her. You're not being yourself. You act in that role. When it ends, you feel destroyed, and for a year it takes you a while to finally see yourself in the mirror properly again, because you weren't yourself. It's the same with this hookup culture. I think people are not being themselves for short-term fun, and if you're not yourself all the time dating, that's the mode you're in, then that's how you condition yourself. You won't know how to be anything else. Doesn't really surprise me. Rod says, advice aside from your videos, is it possible to find or recognize a woman who is right and worthy of a chance, that may be worthy of a proper loving relationship, the sacrifice of taking a chance? The more you have your eyes open, the longer you spend getting to know them. See, this is the thing, everyone laughs at me and like boomers, Gen Y like me, Gen X like me, Gen Y, like the younger guys, the younger generation is like, LOL human, no one dates, as though we're having too much fun at the party. It's like, yeah, and you got a lot of problems, and then you wonder why older guys like me, we seem a bit more secure in how we express ourselves, how we talk, what we think, and all that stuff. It's not just experience, it's the mode of our conduct and what we've decided to do and where we decide not to be. We kind of have a better sense of our own health. So, yeah, you can laugh and go, hey, you can't come to the party, you old guys. It's like, I don't know, the club's for under 40s or, under 30s or whatever. It's like, cool, okay, I've been there too. I'm just trying to get you to think about something. I don't want to be in the club. I'm just talking to a younger version of myself, and I get that the younger you are, the more defiant you're going to be, and that's good in a sense. You've got to be rebellious, but if you're rebellious and you cross a bridge that you can't cross back over, and so many people think, I can cross back over. Sometimes that, as if you cross the bridge, the bridge goes up and there's no going back, or it just disintegrates. It's no longer there. Ask a lot of women who wait until their mid to late 30s to, okay, now I'm ready for a real relationship and real children. It's like, no. Oh, boo-hoo, it's not my fault. Your ancestors, your parents, society, not society really today, but common sense, if you really wanted to be honest and not look at the candy store of pop culture and your friends, you knew that your best chances of having a family were when you were younger. Yeah, they'll roll out cases like, old celebrities that have the money, nannies and lifestyle to pay for the best chance with the most expensive doctors and hospitals in the world for them to have a child. But you're just an everyday, Nancy or Jane that just has a normal job or lives with her parents still. Yeah, my advice for whether it's being alone or wanting to find a partner, I mean, wanting companionship, it's kind of a natural impulse. A lot of guys shame other guys like, you don't need it. You don't, But a lot of guys suffer. Some guys suffer a lot without companionship. A lot. There's like this internal malaise, a quiet desperation, as the saying goes, internally. You can survive, but how well are you surviving? I remember back a couple of years ago when Stardust had a conversation with Monday, and he asked him, like, because Stardust completely has no interest in relationships at all. He asked Monday, because Monday is very intelligent, why he still wanted relationships, and it doesn't have anything to do with with intelligence. And he said something that kind of resonated with me. It's a good, simple answer. He said he just remembers that when he was in a good relationship, it was some of the best times. Just life felt good. And I felt that way when I've had good relationships. The ambience of my life just felt a lot better. And problems didn't look like problems anymore. And you can say it's an illusion. You can get very stoic about it. You don't need it. You can eliminate all your problems by accepting a bit of suffering. But for me, it's like if you keep your eyes open, if you keep women at a distance that's comfortable for you and you're honest about it with them, and that's your boundary, because you still want companionship, I would say listen to yourself and do it the easiest and safest way you can. Being completely alone isn't safe either, guys. Structurally out there, maybe. Psychologically, it's just a slow, for a person who wants companionship or would really like it because they feel like they're just existing, and they know from experience that being with a decent person, even if it was temporarily, you just need to be honest with yourself. Like I said, I have nothing against people who don't want to, and I've been on my own for years in the past. Then it gets to a point where, like, your physiology, you just feel like change. It's like someone who's lived in the same place and then all of a sudden they just don't want to live there anymore. Things have changed, or more importantly, they've changed. And it's not being hypocritical when they say, oh, well, you said this 5 or 10 years ago and now you're being a hypocrite. It's like, no, I've changed. It's like when you have high school reunions and they'll say, oh, Frank over there, he hasn't changed one bit. And I'm in two minds about that, because I hope Frank has changed a bit. There's nothing more, not sad if they're a good person, but you meet someone and they're exactly the same. They talk about the good old days all the time. And I think a lot of guys in the manosphere just keep talking about the good old days from a perspective where they're always talking from a point 5 or 10 or 15 years ago. They're in that pain point. And it energizes them because it makes them feel defensively alive, because nothing else in life has any kind of luster or color anymore. I kind of get it, but you got to be conscious about is constantly drinking poison just so you can sort of expressively cough and sort of animate yourself and feel a bit alive, have something to say. Is it worth it? Is your life better? As the saying went in American History X. Is your life better? Is anything you're doing in your life making your life better? Sam Saylor, thank you very much for the super chat donation. He says, good work encouraging real character in this time human. Strange that it disappeared at the same time as empathy. Well, all those things, empathy, sympathy, character, honor among guys, respect. It's funny, people are complaining and pointing fingers at the you know, our opposites and women and men, and they're pointing outward all the time, but no one wants to give a little of what they want. I'm not saying be a fool and trust someone completely, but whatever you want in the world, try giving a bit of it and see if it returns. Usually does. If it doesn't, you're self-aware enough to stop. So you give whatever you're comfortable losing. So, hey, how are you? If the person acts like, you know, a girl power feminist, then it's like, yeah, whatever. You disengage. But you always act accordingly in the world towards what you want and what kind of people you want. But if you're quiet, you may be keeping your mouth shut and not discovering a person to talk to, a really good conversation, because you are hiding. Again, it's the closing yourself off from a world of experiences. I don't know. Maybe it's a primal thing. The safety of neutrality resembles the womb, and it resembles the end of your life too. It's kind of like it's a certainty. Well, birth isn't, but death surely is. Powder truth. As Western society continues to move in the direction of valuing the superficial, platitudes, shallow, stated stupidity, etc., what use is there in developing yourself in an authentic way? For yourself. Like, while you're here, how are you going to enjoy your time the most? Creating the things that are meaningful for you, connecting with other people that aren't like all the garbage out there. So making your time as enjoyable as possible. You know, if you're alone in the wilderness, it's very uncomfortable, very dangerous. You got very little shelter and you're cold. What do? Grab a few branches and sort of make a bed. Make the world as comfortable as possible, given the situation. You can continue suffering, but we've got to stop complaining too. It's like, it is what it is. If you can make it a little more comfortable, make your life comfortable. You know, I'm not saying any of us can change the world in a big way. Enough people can, but the degree to which the world is sunk these days, it's very unlikely. A. Nell says, why is there so much content on how to get a woman but no content on how to keep a man? Women don't know how to pick or keep a man. Yeah, they don't, but they don't care, because that's biology. We're the ones that chase, that ask, and women sit back just deciding, yeah, not him, yeah, maybe, no, oh no, he maybe looks better, I'll hold off. So they're the ones being chosen. It's just the way it is. Yeah, you can try, again, develop your character, not in a PUA sense, but so you're choosing more rather than begging to get the job. You have to get yourself to the position where you don't need the job. And I noticed that when many years ago, once I was kind of over a lot of the bad parts of relationships and started to reflect on my choices. My personal life, I got rid of my debts, and I just lived very, very simply, and life was really good. I really started to kind of realize I don't need to tolerate all this stuff. Why am I doing it? They're old habits, old reflexes, biology, all that kind of stuff. And I remember when I started to go to job interviews, honestly, with the perspective of, I'm going there to interview them. I don't need this. I'm just going to see if I get along with these people. Whereas before, it's always going to the interview like, you know, again, like pickup lines to say when they ask me the cliche business lines like, you know, tell me a fault about yourself, or why do you think you deserve this job? Or like there's this whole bunch of cliched questions that interviews ask you. I just didn't care anymore. I went to interviews I was going to flip the answer to accommodate a perspective of mine that would be, I just want to enjoy the place I'm working. I want to enjoy working with this team. I want to enjoy my work-life balance. Everything I said was honest. So it didn't matter if they said, so what can you offer this company? It's like, I can offer this and this. I've got experience and I just want to enjoy working at a place with good people and I want a good work-life balance. They ask another question and I would answer it in a similar way. Like every answer was directed to the same honest answer of mine. Every question was directed to the same honest answer. So just kind of, I think guys, especially with dating, just need to go to dates, going to meet a potential friend, wanting just to be yourself and express what you want from this. Not going to impress. I know it's hard, but you have to get to the point where you're just sick of doing what you've been doing till now. It's like you go there saying the same things, begging for the same kind of job. You're going to get the same job. You are going to get the same job. You'll just be going to a different place for work every day. K. Smith says in his super chat, the more enlightened I become, the less I want sex. Yeah. You start to value a lot of things. Look, naturally, when a guy gets older, when his testosterone starts dropping significantly in his 30s, your desire and your place for women and the biological urge, it moves from first place, it starts moving down. So your interest starts moving away from women and to the world, and to yourself, especially in relation to the world. What you want to do, if you want to travel, what things you've been keeping on the shelf, what you no longer like doing anymore, you know, what you've grown out of. Feral Male says, modern relationships are parasitic in nature. They need to be symbiotic. Yep, and like you could argue they've always been parasitic to a certain extent in terms of like one person wants something from the other, but there's always a fair exchange, or at least what people deem to be fair, and that's the symbiosis. But you need to make it symbiotic. Every people pleaser, every super nice guy, it's just almost guaranteed, because the world is full of people who will use you. And even people who aren't necessarily big users, there's something about the nature of people, human beings. Once someone is a doormat, we might ask and then they just keep giving, and then you kind of you become a glutton for taking. But you need to sort of know when to say no. You need to have your boundaries. Let's read some more questions. Petru M on the video, sleeping around warps your perspective. He says, in the end, you're doing something that biology wants, and you're doing it with someone you would not spend breakfast time with. Yeah. Your biology finds it a match, but you haven't actually determined that, and it's feeling worse and worse as the minutes go on. But something's saying, yeah, this person's great, trust me. It's like your biology's like grabbing you by the collar and pulling you. So don't worry, dude, I got it. And then later, after you've busted a nut, it's like, you're on your own. Yeah, she's a psycho, sorry, but I just wanted it. So you're actually walking around with an addict in you for women. And that addict, when it gets you in trouble, then it's like, dude, you're on your own. Sorry, mate. Get lost. Like, he keeps showing you how he betrays you. He goes, Petru continues, I get upset when I have a cheat meal and the post-nut clarity is super depressing after sleeping around. Coincidence? Yeah, that's a very insightful comment. You know, when you're trying to be fit and then you have a day of binging and you feel like crap, you don't like yourself because you know you've disappointed yourself, you've done the wrong thing. It's the same as post-nut clarity when you've been with the wrong person, you're in the wrong relationship, you've hooked up, you felt like you've dodged the bullet. We just need to be more conscious of making decisions from that point of view. I know it's hard, guys. I'm not saying it's because it's kind of like semi being a robot. You want to the life is good when you're free and relaxed. The trick is initially to really be robotic with your boundaries, your standards, what you say, so that later on you can relax those boundaries. They don't need to be walls of steel. Later on, you can dissolve them so they can more be walls of wood, or, you know, something a bit weaker, whatever the metaphor might be. But you don't, like, you're completely open in terms of what you say, but you're not completely open with your heart. And I don't care what, you know, a lot of you kind of will cite Buddhists and say, no, we have to be completely open. No, that's just making you completely vulnerable for people who want to exploit you. Yeah, Coil still says, PUAs may help you get a girl, but they can't help you keep her. Yeah, very few of them. Or the only way they tell you to keep her is keep spinning the plates of all the stuff you've got in your life. Even if you want to slow down, if you want to retire, you can't. Or she's gone. Or unless you've got so much money and power that you chain her to you because she's got no one else to go. Basically, you're taking her branches away to monkey branch. But again, like I said in my last video, like friends, you can be okay with that if you want, but don't lie to yourself and say that she cares about you when she doesn't. Yeah, you might be fine with, okay, I know she's with me because of my money, but I don't know if it's something to brag about, really. You're bragging about how powerful you are in terms of finances and your status, yeah. You're posturing with other men, but think of it this way, if other men didn't exist, if it was just this woman, could you be as comfortable when you couldn't actually show off to your buddies and you couldn't feel as proud in the hierarchy of guys? If you didn't get that payoff. If no other men existed in the world, if it was just you and you're with some dumb bimbo, yeah, I know you can argue and then you've got all these other women to pick from, but would you feel as proud? Something to think about. Remember, if you want to ask questions that you want me to read, guys, put a couple of emojis next to them because I'm missing some good questions or comments. Northern Guy says, mothers protect their sons from the world while a father will help him to conquer it. Yeah. And this is what we don't have much of today. Guys being mentored by their fathers, male elders, to be able to conquer their own worlds. Not in a megalomaniacal way like you want to conquer the world and dominate the whole world and be some sort of dictator. It's so you can conquer your world. Why do you think, like I watched a movie last night, Arctic, with Mads Mikkelsen, where it's a very quiet movie where he's surviving after a plane crash in the Arctic. And these stories really resonate with guys. The man overcoming his environment, surviving in a very singular way. Conquering your world's a big thing. It gives men a lot of security because women have men to lean on, men have nothing to lean on. If we can conquer the abyss beyond us, we feel more secure in life. Hey, Red Pill Mentor Tokyo, how you going, man? He said, Stefan Molyneux made the analogy of filling a clear plastic bag with dollar bills and running through an impoverished area. You'll get attention, but being valued as a resource may end badly for you. Yeah, I haven't watched Stiffen for a while. I've always been meaning to, but I think with digital media, because like you have to jump somewhere else, you have to cognitively keep an eye on so many platforms. It's very, very hard to sort of separate your attention. But I've been meaning to watch some more of Stefan for a while. I think he's on Odyssey, isn't he? Can you hear the helicopter? Miles says, it's Father's Day here in Australia. Gents, happy Father's Day to the boys. Yeah, happy Father's Day to everyone here in Australia. I'll be going to visit Dad's grave later, myself. Anel says, I'm 32 years old and I still believe in dating. I pay attention to Human and Paul Elam's tip on dating and staying true to your values. Yeah. Again, you don't have to date. My point is I talk to so many very vocal, tough guys that are very anti-women and dating, or all they do is pick up because they kind of, they're vociferously anti-woman and they really don't respect them, but they want to sleep with them. It's kind of like the way you're saying it, you're really fighting yourself between two things. You're an addict that's aware of the drug controlling him and you're trying to minimize it while still using it, rather than changing who you are, understanding who you are in relation to it. So then you can choose in a non-addictive way whether you engage, to what degree, or again, maybe you still don't want to, but the clarity and your anxiety is just get it down to zero so you can do whatever you want. A man controlling himself is beautiful, and too many guys these days are just worried about controlling women in game. It's just, but deep inside you're a scared little boy trying to control his world through cars and businesses and finance and dating hot little sociopathic bimbos. Keith Smith says, why does companionship have to come solely from women? What about family, friends, and hobbies? Yeah, but you know, I catch up with friends. We watch a movie. I've got many hobbies, but much like what I referenced Monday saying, there's something about a woman that no one else can compare with. Or your chosen sex of choice. But yeah, I just noticed that when I'm in a good relationship, the ambience of my life, it's very, very different. It's this unquantifiable thing. It's just the pure fact of having them there. It's much more, the best way I can describe it is, say you live on your own, but you see your family and friends every so often, and it just seems like a really good, rounded, secure, stable life, and you feel good. Multiply that feeling by 10 when you're in a good relationship, and that's what I mean. The ambience just is intensified and much calmer. At least that's what it does to my life, and that's what kind of I remember Monday said as well. It just made his life overall feel better, and he just remembers some of the best memories of his life. Not just memories, but feeling the best in his life when he was in a good relationship with someone. Just the feeling of companionship. So it's definitely connected biologically, I think. But you do get companionship and fulfillment from family, friends, and hobbies. But just like all of those are separate, you get things from hobbies, you get them that you don't get from family. in a different way. You get an intimacy from being with someone you love and care about romantically, and I'm talking classically romantically, not what romance is today. It's a very different thing too. Again, you don't have to, but that's why I've gotten some guys ask me as well, Human, you're switched on. Why do you even want it? Like, I don't chase it. I closed the door, but I left the door unlocked in the sense that if it does present itself, I'll do it very deliberately, consciously, and not in an addictive way like I used to. So the door's still unlocked, but I'm not chasing it. Whereas I know what it was like when I was younger and I was chasing it. I wanted it so much. So keep your eyes open. The more you can control your impulses, and a lot of the stoicism starts to take root in you, and a lot of the mentoring, things you've read, the person you want to be, the father that should have taught you comes out of you. That's when life starts getting better. How dare you asks, what's your opinion on the religion of peace? Is it gynocentric even if it's Machista? I have no idea what the religion of peace is. I can guess. I'm not sure. I don't know enough about it to comment, sorry. I'm glad you didn't send me a super chat with that question. I don't like saying I have no idea when someone sends me a donation and a question. James 2774 says it sucks growing old alone just as much as getting crap from a female. Here's the thing, what's worse? Growing old alone and the pain of loneliness, or being with someone where you feel completely alone? Hey, depending on your childhood trauma, what kind of person you are, I can't really say what's worse. I don't know. Personally, I'd rather be alone than feel alone with someone. So I'd rather be alone than feel alone with someone. But there's some people, and you can't make fun of them. Like, if they're really that much of an addict, that they would rather just have anyone that they can tolerate, just so they can have a companion. Who are you to rub salt into their childhood wounds? Some of the questions, guys, I have no idea, so I'm not going to read them because all I'll be saying is I don't know. Who Cares says, do you think that this swipe right culture is just removing our ability to interact on a proper social level and naturally vet with these women? Yes. Yeah, the social media, like Tinder, hookup culture, and swipe dating, it's putting women in control of dating much more than they used to be in terms of just even the initial steps, the selection, and it really goes against their nature as well because they like men asking them out. And even if you swipe left and right, women are controlling the amount of matches that happen because of how few men they select. So if women are only swiping right with 20% of men or less, so I think it's something like 10 to 15% really, and the only way a man gets the swipe is if he's one of those 15%, then women are controlling the selection process much more. Whereas in the real world, a man could just go up and talk to a woman. But now he can't. She's in control of the dating, and women's nature doesn't like it. She's very passive. She's sitting there going, why won't he go out with me? Why won't he commit? You're adopting the role of a man simply because you're controlling what men and how men actually interact, or even if it happens. So women have that blind spot. They think, oh, why aren't men asking me out? Because you're in control of how dating happens now, ladies, much more than before. We could just go up to you. And we could politely convince you, oh yeah, you know, I didn't like this guy, or initially when I saw him, I didn't think he was my type, but when he came up to me and started talking to me, well, now you've just kind of made it harder for you ladies. It's hard for guys, but the new world, what girl power has given women, is just made their lives immeasurably harder. Not that I care, but they're so myopic that they can't see. They've added more work to their lives. They want to have kids, and they've added a career on top. The way they date, it used to be easy. Now they've made it very restrictive. There's a lot of women alone because of how they date now. So, but you can't talk to them. It's like spoiled little rich brats wanting what they want. How do you take their toys away from them? You got to let them suffer. I've lost a lot of my sympathy for. I've become very misanthropic this last generation, because again, I said, like, I've of the opinion I'll help anyone who's drowning until they start pulling me under. So there's you just hear the same thing. Oh, where are all the good men? It's like, shut up, I don't care. Here's some cat food for you and your cat. Can you shut up? It's like, if you don't want to, grow up. Both men and women, grow up. I'm tired of speaking to children, and I'm tired of listening to children. When that child wants to start to listen, or wants to start to have a conversation, wants to start asking questions, it'd be so great. Like, even in the comments today, everyone's so sure of themselves. No one actually asks questions, and proper ones, not cliched ones. But, you know, human, do you think that blah, blah, blah? Do you think there's a correlation? You know, this happened to me, and I was thinking that maybe this, and this. Look, they're interesting questions. They're you actually growing up and wanting to take responsibility for your world. Not women are this, men are this, she'll never love you, women can never this, they can only this, gynocentrism, monkey brain. It's like, okay, stay in your clubhouse, I don't care. Be alone. Yeah, like a lot of the black pillars, that you could tell they want life to be better, but they keep repeating their memes. Repeat them. If I can't even have a conversation with you, what am I supposed to do? Grab you by the ears and shake you? What are men supposed to do with women? You can't even talk to them forcefully, let alone grab them and tell them to wake up. You can't do what Sean Connery did in these days and wake them up. So, suffer. I don't care. Suffer. Not my problem anymore. I'm not your father. You don't want to listen to any father out there, or any voice that is a father. Any voice that's been around from the masculine side. It's been there from the beginning of time. It's helped men. It's helped structure that part of society. No, let's eradicate that. It's all what women want. Okay, it's all what women want now. Men, why aren't you helping? How? We're deaf, dumb, and blind. We can't do anything. You've cauterized us. We're sitting there in the corner like a lump. And any guys like me, or other guys that still have some sort of courage to live and speak the way they want, it's kind of like, yeah, we'll make them invisible. We won't listen to them. We'll label them. Like, we're kind of, you become a fringe thing. So the people occupying the center, it's all too female for me to care. It's like, you want to be in charge? Great, ladies, be in charge. I don't care. Well, you're not doing your part. You're right, I don't want to, because I have no part to play other than me jumping when you say to jump. I can't actually be a person that can offer my expertise or offer my strength, because it's going to be taken advantage of, not rewarded, and you're going to complain all the time. I'm not your father. I hate dealing with a world full of children. I never wanted children of my own. What makes you think I have sympathy for petulant, spoiled rich kids? Rant over. Boffin says, guys, if you're enjoying the stream, hit the thumbs up. Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, give me a thumbs up and a like. It doesn't cost you anything. But thank you to all the guys who give me a super chat. If you give me a super chat, I'll read your comment out, guaranteed. But other ones, like I can't sometimes I miss questions if you haven't put a whole bunch of emojis next to them. But super chats stand out pretty easily. Yeah, Locomotive says, good, you spend enough of your resources on kids that aren't even yours. Guys talk about, don't date a single mum. It's not your problem. Neither are women who act like children. They're the problem, the parents they came from. That's how I think of it. I like maturity. I mean, I like having fun, like anyone. There's the inner kid in me. But I know where life requires you to be serious, and you want someone who has that mode. Like you look at fathers of the past. Yeah, you could let your inner child out and enjoy watching sport and go out for a drink at the bar and let go and be irresponsible, but you've got your boundaries in which you can. You know where you can let go. But you're not just a kid everywhere. Gimme, gimme, gimme. It can't just be take, take, take. As an adult, you've got to kind of contribute in some way. Even if it's within your own little world. Look at your hobbies. You give to your hobbies, you get back. There's this nice back and forth that happens. You empty yourself, the thing fills you up as well. So it keeps refueling you. Everything in life, I said, gentlemen, is a relationship. So your romantic ones should be the same. You empty yourself to a degree, you get refilled by your partner in a different way. So it keeps that loop going. But the moment it's a one-way street where she's sitting there with her arms crossed, not wanting to give anything, then the relationship dies because there's only so much fuel you have if it's not reciprocated. If she's just happy to take it. Awakened Mind, thank you very much for the super chat donation. His or her comment is, great job interviewing and life advice. Thank you. Great job interviewing and life advice. Thank you. Yeah. I think it's helpful. Like, treat it like an interview, but one where you don't care about getting the job. You're really looking at, I want to ask you guys questions too about whether or not, because I want to know if I'm going to enjoy working here. There's there's places to work everywhere. If you've got a desire for companionship, if that's your need for a job, there's a lot of places to get a job. There's a lot of places to get companionship. But go to each meeting, interview, go to each date with the mindset of, I'm looking to meet a potential friend. I'm asking questions to see whether or not I'd like to be in this environment with this person, if they're my kind of person. Always go, whenever you're going to meet new people, job interviews, friends, dates, new people, to sort of, and you can know it's going to lead, or you're kind of going there to assess whether or not you two can be together. Go there interviewing the person in a friendly way. You want to know if you can be in this environment, if they're a friend, if the colleagues, the culture is good. Don't go there with the submissive, no voice attitude of like, I'll walk and quack like a duck to get the job. No. Go there, look to see if you can actually meet a friend and be with someone. Or be in the environment. Does the environment suit you? Is the girl sitting across from you on a date, is she the environment that matches yours? Could you live there? Okay. Nell says, "Hey Human, what's the status of your video with Spetsnaz on gaslighting?" It's coming along. Sorry, I haven't had much of a chance. Been busy this week. It's probably halfway done. So I'm hoping to get it out this week. I actually was going to work on it today after I got back from the cemetery. We'll see how I go. But it's coming along. I'll let you guys know, definitely on the next stream when it's up. And I'll release the video on my main channel, and at the end of the video, I'll direct people to the Spetsnaz chat if it's finished, to my chat channel. But please subscribe to my chat channel if you're interested in longer form chats with people. So I put them there. Ralph says, I watched the PUA shows for a while to figure out which modern day women I should avoid. Look, a lot of this kind of cliche entertainment based Jerry Springer PUA alpha kind of channels, the dating coaches, they kind of show you more what you don't want, which is fine, but then you're still lost, you're still vulnerable because you don't know what you do want. So you can end up going on dates with women that's like, okay, I don't really see any RED flags popping up. They come up later, but you could waste a lot of time by the time you see them. So when you know yourself properly, you can actually see stuff that it may not be a warning sign, but it may just be like, nah, it's not me. Nothing wrong with her, but it's not me. But when you know yourself, you know that incompatibility turns into a warning sign later. It turns into something really bad. So on face value, when you go on a date, you can just see that you can look at incompatibility and sort of see, oh, they're just different. But when you know yourself, it becomes a RED flag because like, no, this doesn't work for me. This will turn into an argument later on. So it's all well and good to point out train wrecks that are obvious from orbit, but they're the obvious ones. The trickier one is where you can waste a lot of time with the wrong person. It happened to me, it happened to a lot of guys. Two nice people that are completely incompatible, by the time they realize that, they start hating each other. They start arguing because the incompatibility is causing friction. Knowing yourself just avoids people who aren't for you. They may be perfectly fine for someone else. They're healthy individuals for someone else. An introverted person and an extroverted person, very hard to be compatible. A conscientious person versus a lazy person. There's just so many opposites that there's just no point. I've been out with so many extroverted, travel, shopping, intelligent enough women that it was just completely wrong, and I learned a lot from. A lot of the stuff I'm saying in my videos came from them. They weren't bimbos. They just weren't for me. But knowing who you are helps you avoid the wrong person. There's the obvious train wreck. There's the less obvious, sometimes more dangerous psychologically long term. The women that make you question what the hell happened. Because if you don't know yourself, those questions can haunt you for the rest of your life because you haven't self-reflected. It's like, they were nice, I were nice, I was nice. They weren't sort of, obvious bad choices. I don't know what went wrong. When you know yourself better, you can identify what went wrong. It's not necessarily them, it's the relationship, the incompatibility. That's what was wrong. Perkomatic, thank you very much for the super chat donation, man. I appreciate it. Cheers. Remember to give me a thumbs up if you enjoy these streams and my videos, guys. It's free. If you don't feel like donating or sending a super chat. Yeah, James 2774 says, women say, where have all the good men gone to while they date creeps? I suppose some guys could argue the same. Women are all blah, blah, blah while they keep dating the bimbos. Like, this was what's amazing to me. Just take a look at the most popular channels. They got, you know, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't be popular. Good for them. Fresh and Fit, very popular channel, right? But it's a dating channel for bimbos. Like the women they put on there, what they're dating, that kind of circuit, they're pretty little empty-headed sociopaths. They're young, I know, but if they're the things you're propping up as this is the prize, these are the kind of women, you know, we have on the show, you got to look at your standards. I think I mentioned in the last video, does she look good and nothing else? Does she look good but isn't? And you know what I mean by that? She may look amazing but is not at all. And that means everything aside from her looks. That camouflage, you know, you can wrap a pig in silk. It's still a pig. If you like pigs, that's something different, you know. Who am I to tell you what you go? And I'll notice a lot of people, they actually aren't dating with values. They're dating others like a fetish. Like, I'm into feet, you're into bimbos in the same way. But you try and you convince yourself, well, because I'm into them, I'm going to marry them. It's like, no, that's a fetish. Again, know yourself. Then you'll know the difference. You know the difference between PORN and what love is. Just because they both get you hormonally excited doesn't equate them as being the same thing. Remember, if you want to ask me a question, put a few emojis next to your question. MGTOW Biologic says, the only society you can change is yourself. I agree. Let's see if there's any more questions. Yeah, Bernard says, candy cannot fulfill my need for steak. Relating to my video, sleeping around warps your perspective. Mr. Highway, I think he's here in the chat as well. Here in the chat. His comment on my video, sleeping around warps your perspective, he says, you can't ignore the remorse that follows a hookup any more than you can ignore being hungover. Yep. This is why I like Mr. Highway. There's a few intelligent guys, Boffin as well, and a couple of more of you regulars, where you could tell, even if I didn't see his avatar, I could tell he's an older guy with experience by the way he talks and how he reflects. This self-reflection is what I hope guys will start doing, and it makes life clearer. Maybe not easier, but clearer. You know that when you drink a lot, you're going to have a hangover. So you can't go out with strippers and bimbos and then complain, oh, can you believe what she did? Yeah, I can. I definitely can, you idiot. That's actually what she's designed to do. Look at her. How much more obvious. You know, nature paints like things red so animals avoid them. This thing with bright red lipstick, or the way she looks and she's got tattoos up her neck and fake boobs and all this, it's like, how much obvious, like she's the equivalent of like some poison mushrooms with like red spots on it in nature. It's like, what else do you want nature to do? Especially since we all know this stuff. Like, you can't blame her for being what she is. She's so overtly telling you who she is. But much like women, a lot of guys think the exception. You know how women pick the bad boys? Well, you know, I thought he'd be special because I'm special. It's like, no, they're a bad boy. That's what they are. You're looking to pick a bad boy and win the lottery in the bad boy. It's the equivalent of staying home and expecting a Victoria's Secret model just to knock on your door and want to be with you. It's just ridiculous. Next comment. Tony G on the video Sleeping Around Warps Your Perspective. He says, it's sad to see a heap of corpses around the water well of lust. People drink from it, and the more they drink, the thirstier they become. Seemingly unaware of the carnage around the lustful well, man and woman drink their fill, and for a moment they are satisfied. But soon the thirst returns, and more bodies collect around the well, bodies as trophies to a well with false hope, false promises, and corpses who worshipped a false god. Very poetic and very well said, Tony. Yeah, but there's people dropping around this well, and people are still going up to the well and going, "Oh, water." Yeah, I won't worry about the bodies. Jake V says, sleeping about the video Sleeping Around has warps your perspective. Again, I had to edit the word sex is like the cherry on top of the ice cream sundae, but without the rest. Unfortunately, that's all you get anymore. It's like they stopped making ice cream and all the other ingredients that go into the sundae. I guess cherries are better than nothing, but truth be told, after 25 years, I'm pretty sick of them. Yeah, man cannot live on cherries alone. Lord Jim on the same video, Sleeping Around Warps Your Perspective, he says, I've realized recently that we now accept as normal that we buy products made overseas that literally break days after purchase. Originally, I think the fact that they were cheap was meant to justify them being virtually useless trash. Some 20 years ago, we still smiled somewhat condescendingly at their fumbling attempts at copycat manufacturing. Not anymore. Overseas trash drove recent manufacturers out of the market, and now we are almost left with garbage. This philosophy of cheap, i.e. easy available consumption of low-quality merchandise, was extended to the other aspects of life, including relationships. I agree. Instant gratification, yep. Commercial, consumeristic mind. Cheap relationships, cheap products. Just, it's the female mind. More quantity of shopping rather than quality of shopping. He continues, instant gratification. What a bargain at the expense of real value. Rips apart within days. It rips apart within days. This is what hookup culture is. I agree. Short-term gratification. It's the child mind. It's the woman's shopping mind. You want to know who runs society? That's who runs society. The male mind is not there anymore. It's on the outskirts. That's what's funny. You see a lot of women's psychology flip on its head what things actually are. They keep saying, well, men rule the world. It's like they don't. If you want to know who rules over you, it's who you can't speak up at. And it's women and children and all of their interests. Women rule the world today. Men just do the hardest jobs. Chafin says, in my opinion, love in friendships is much stronger and more honest than in relationships. Yeah. I agree. And to that responded, can't think of a good name, he said, there's a reason that classic philosophers considered male friendship to be the highest form of human connection. Yeah. Okay, let's continue with the rest of your questions, guys, and let's hit the finish line of this live stream. How dare you, says Human. I'd love you to discuss what you just said about Black Pill with Stardust, would you? Depends if we ever get around to discussing again. I haven't done discussions with many people as of late. But if it happens, I'll let you know, and I'm sure one of us we'd put it up on our channel. Yeah, because I know that Stardust has been talking about the darker shades of the PILL. And I think it's good, like, we've all got our own perspectives on it, and I think it's good to cross-pollinate ideas between people. I don't like the fighting, the debate. We never used to do this in the golden age of MGTOW. People would have their difference of opinions, but there'd be more of a solidarity. Now it's all these different posturing camps. It's become like a girls' schoolyard, really. You can kind of tell when you watch someone's channel, the more they are into the dating female sort of side validation, or they're more trying to lean towards the male stoic masculine side. It's like how much intelligence is coming out of the channel compared to how much primitive hormonal pickup dating kind of garbage is coming out. Wet Pellet Warrior says, single mums and soft fathers equals a recipe for disaster. Yeah. Remember to put a few emojis next to your questions, guys, if you want to ask something. Just the Jotun says, my experience is peacocking men have hollow personalities. I agree. They spit a lot of memes at you. Or they're memes wrapped up in natural conversation. That's the kind of talk you get in the office. How's your weekend? How are the jets? What's the weather? Like, it's just kind of, it's chit chat. And it's cliche chit chat as well. Oh, is Mr. Sam in the chat too? I don't see him. Ah, there he is. Hey, Sam. Raz BRB, fuel keeps refilling if you discard what doesn't satisfy. You never expect the fuel can always come from someone else. People are too fickle. Who Cares says, what do you think fathers have lacked in terms of teaching daughters for this generation of women, besides absence, of course, and due to that absence, is it really fair to dismiss these women? It's not, but it's also the choice that these women make in the men they choose to continue to bring the child to birth, not be with the guy long enough before they sleep with him, decide to have a family. They just kind of have a kid on the whim today, it almost seems. They don't wait, or they waste their reproductive years and then rush into it again with guys they don't spend enough time with. Whichever way you look at it, women's decision, because they're in control of having the baby or not. They're the ones who are pulling, hitting the trigger on having kids. And if you're divorcing the father, why does it end so quickly? So yeah, there's a lot of factors. Yeah, men aren't there. Sometimes I say, well, why do the men leave? Like, sometimes they don't leave, they get divorced. Sometimes they have to leave. No one with the same brain could suffer. A lot of women entrap men with kids. Just a lot of factors. But basically, women are the ones responsible for bringing a baby into the world. I can't excuse them anymore. Women have too much power in the world. I don't have any sympathy anymore. Sorry. I have sympathy for the women in my life, not for women out there anymore. But it used to be different. Men used to generally have more sympathy. Women want to be this way now. They want to be in charge, not told what to do. We don't need men. We don't care if you want the baby. I'm having it. I want to be a single mum. You, girl power. I'm going to be a single mum, have a career at the same time. Okay, do it. I don't care anymore. Hands are off. Oh, where is the support from the government, from men? It's like, no, we don't care. We're working less. We're willing to give less support. We're willing to. We won't even help you on the road. A woman breaks down on the road. Like sometimes, like I've seen in my life once or twice a woman breaking down. I don't stop. I should, but I don't. I stop for someone who's elderly, male or female. But unfortunately, I've seen my lack of sympathy too, and I don't like it. But every time I kind of say, let me just do what's right, and I get spat in the face in some way or another. On aggregate, sometimes it doesn't happen, but a lot of times it does. And it's just like, again, I'm not their father. This is the world they've built, and it's just getting worse and worse. I don't know. It's difficult now. I notice in myself, I don't like being this way. But I also refuse to be a doormat too. Carlos, thank you very much for your super chat donation. I appreciate it, man. Spec Ops, thank you very much for your super chat donation. I appreciate it. He says, this is for your escape fund. I might need it. Australia's getting worse and worse. It used to be the best place to live. In the last couple of years, we've become so overly cautious and sensitive. Well, it's a very girl power, this country. So what do you expect? It's a scared little brat. Loco8, thank you for the super chat. He says, after most dates I feel mentally exhausted because of the amount of things I have to censor or dance around, and that applies in general life too. That's the freedom and clarity. Start to express yourself honestly, articulately, not rudely, not emotionally like women, and they have nothing to say about it. Most dates I go on go well simply because most women can't speak on my level, aren't as open, definitely aren't as open. A lot of them are very mute and closed. They don't want to let a lot out. So I basically come off as very in charge, not because I want to be in charge on a date. It's because I want to know stuff, and I'm not afraid to ask you, because I know that what I'm asking you, I've got no reason to be embarrassed about it. Why can't I ask you questions? What's your name? Why did you break up? Just why? Why? Because I don't want her to leave. Good, leave. If you're not for me, why do I want to keep someone around who's incompatible or could be a RED flag? Go on dates expecting them to be friends and talk to them as openly as friends, and then you find out if they're not. You don't want them around you. It's too dangerous, and it's a waste of time. There are so many women out there. If you're in the dating market, you're better off being with women long or short term that resemble a friend. So go on dates being a friend, because then you'll find it very easy to know when, I don't get along with this person, they're not a friend. The next person, it's better off you can find someone else who's a friend who you're attracted to. That's the thing. Like, guys reckon the woman in front of them's the only one. Like, how many people are there on dating apps now? Yeah, I know it's hard. I know, guys. But what's harder? Trying to get the worst train wreck and lowering your standards? Just be on your own then. There's a healthy choice, you know? Don't just pick it. Like, if you're thirsty, do you pick the water that's contaminated with salmonella and then you're going to get sick? Or do you hold out? Do you get your water from somewhere else temporarily until you can actually have water? Sustain yourself elsewhere until you actually get clean water. And also learn to relate to the woman in front of you, singular, and not to relate to women. Keep your eye, learn about women in general, learn about men, learn about your nature in relation to the world, but really focus on the person in front of you. So you're not talking to women. And if she starts talking politically like all women, then you know she's not for you. Find out about the person in front of you. Talk about you, the person in front of her. Because you're trying to have an individual relationship. You're not trying to have some sort of relationship with all women in this person in front of you. Make it very personal. Feral Male says, we need to tell ourselves and our friends, you idiot, way more often. I agree. Be honest. Not too hard on yourself, though. You don't want to just kind of kick yourself all the time, but you want to give yourself tough love in a sympathetic voice. Some nice conversations going on, guys, in the comments section. Keep it going. It's one thing I actually like about my channel is there's a lot of mentoring, guys with experience. They're not just kind of throwing mud at women. They're trying to kind of make their lives better, and I think this is what it's all about. You don't make your life better by going to the bar, getting drunk, and like smashing bottles against the wall and like spitting at people and stuff like that. Loco8, thank you for the super chat donation. He says, check my previous super chat. Love the content too. I think I read it, didn't I? You said, after most dates, I feel mentally exhausted because of the amount of feelings I have to censor or dance around of, and that applies in general too. Yeah. I think you're just reminding me. I'm just getting to a lot of the comments now, guys. Ask your final questions, guys. Let's wrap it up. Thanks for showing up, guys, as well. We've got a few hundred people. 308 concurrent viewers and 281 at the moment, which is good. Some of your questions, I don't know how to answer them, so I won't read them. JJ says, this is what equality looks like, ladies. Have fun. Yeah, it's always funny when you sort of see women expecting you to act like a guy in the black and white era, and when you don't, they kind of look at you funny. It's like, it's 2021. You don't act like a woman in the black and white era. Those two things need to be compatible. Unfortunately, modern women make it really awful for those few women that are more not traditional in the sense of like family and like whatever, but traditional in the sense of like how men and women naturally get along and how they cooperate. You can't just have it your way, and you can't just have it your way in a lazy sense. MGTW by Logic, he says, I'm sure I just picked wrong 17 times. I'll try again. Yeah, although, look, also to be fair, I know in my case, for the longest time, I did pick different women, but I picked them by the same me, by my same lack of boundaries, by my same modes of being, by my same refusal to look at how I would be taken advantage of and just be a yes machine, and mold myself around her, whatever she wanted. So you want to also make sure you could be dating cosmetically different looking women with different personalities and stuff, or not really, but you know, have you changed for the better? Because if you are, then you're not dating the same women twice. That's what you want to make sure you're doing too. Who cares says, human, I find talking to women in person, they are so fixated on their validation devices that even approaching in person has become harder, as they view you as they would on their phone, a number. Well, if it's that kind of person, then good, you know. It's the thing, yes, most people are a certain way, but all you can do is try in your way. Then at least you know 100% she's like all the rest. She's like all the rest. Or she's largely like all the rest. Does she have enough in her that's like the things I want and need? Any last questions, guys? Boffin says, sounds like Australia's returning to its founding roots, a male prison colony. Yeah, that's a way to look at it. Tube the Noob says, but going to the bar and getting drunk is fun, human. Yeah, but like Mr. Highway says, then be prepared for the hangover and don't complain about it. Cause and effect. Some of the comments, I don't know how to read them because the grammar's kind of odd. So I don't really know what angle they're coming at it from. Hit the like button, guys. Alright guys, if that's it, let's call it a day. It's an hour and 40 minutes. I think that's quite enough. It's a very cold, sunny day. Yeah, let's call it a day. Have a good Saturday night for the most of you. Sleep well. And for the few of you in Australia, New Zealand, and some other places where there's sunlight, enjoy your Sunday. I'll talk to you real soon, guys. Hit the like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video. Catch you later. Bye.